Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obithorian Alliance. In today's video, we're doing a top 5 movie franchises. If you can, like and subscribe. So I guess I'll go first with the top 5 movie franchises. So there's so many to pick from, but you know,
What were some of the rules we came up with that you couldn't just say Marvel, for instance. You had to narrow it down to like Iron Man or something, like, because otherwise it's too broad. How do you compete with something that big? So we put that kind of rules in place, and there was no limit on genre, and what a franchise was just something that had more than 2 movies, I guess. Yeah. Okay, give us your 5.
So number 5 is Harry Potter, and reason why it's number 5 is I think it definitely deserves being in the top 5, but I don't see it going higher. And because I grew up with Harry Potter, so the nostalgia is there, but the Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and the actor that played Ron were so, that's what they're known for, and they did a pretty good job. But I would probably say it's a pretty good series overall. It has its problems, actually read the books recently, so from that though, I do think the movies are pretty good, so that's why it's at number 5.
Okay, hit me. What's number 4?
Number 4 is Jurassic Park, and I think because growing up with dinosaurs, I think we all go through that phase as boys and sometimes even girls. We all love dinosaurs and things like that, and I just think Jurassic Park is just such a iconic franchise, and even the new ones with Chris Pratt are pretty good as well. I know some people don't like them, but I still think they're good, and I just think it's a good franchise, and it would be interesting to see if dinosaurs would be real. Like, it's an interesting concept, and I would probably say it has good characters, good cast, and I just think growing up with it was just so iconic. The first one was really iconic, and I just think it's a really good franchise. And I guess number 3 is the Avengers. And Marvel has just been so strong and so consistent lately. Like, I would probably say I'm a big Marvel fan, but I'm a loyal person, and I grew up with the ones that are in the top 2. But I still think the Avengers movies and Marvel are probably, they're just growing in strength, you know what I mean? Like, they're just so consistent. Like, nothing's perfect, but they're just building themselves up so well. But like I said, I'm a loyal person, and I just think the ones at number 2 and number 1, just for their time, I just think are better. So number 2, you can see that I'm wearing the shirt of the next franchise, is the Lord of the Rings. And when I grew up with the Lord of the Rings, it's just a fantastic franchise. I remember seeing the 3rd return of the King in the movies, and just how amazing it was. And just the only complaint that I could see that people and I could understand is that they're long movies, and that's fair enough. Like, they are 3 hours, but besides that, I think they're great. They're great movies, such a great franchise, and I would highly recommend anyone to watch The Lord of the Rings because there's actually a TV show coming out on Amazon Prime, so it'll be interesting to see how they do.
I guess we've got the spin-off. Like, I
The
don't know.
Hobbit.
Yeah, I guess you could say they're spin-offs. They're prequels, I guess. But it's a franchise that's building. There's games based off it, and yeah, so it's a big franchise.
Yep, and that leaves number one, and that's Star Wars. I just feel like Star Wars is just so iconic. Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, C-3PO, Darth Vader. So many iconic characters. I just feel like it's the best sci-fi franchise, and you could argue it hasn't been as strong with the movies lately, with the newer movies, but I actually thought they were decent, not as good as like the original trilogy, but you know, sometimes we have very big expectations when it comes to how well the original ones did, and that's fine. It's good having expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's a shame that they didn't continue making like story movies. Like Rogue One was actually a really good solo movie.
That's one of my favourites, for sure.
Yeah, and then they did the Han Solo one, and then it's like, oh, Han Solo didn't do well, and then they stopped. I think it would have been good, like, making, like, story movies with, like, separate characters. Like, I think that would be interesting. But now we've got Disney Plus, you can do it anyway with TV shows, so it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it was unfortunate because Rogue One, the only complaint with Rogue One is that you already know what was going to happen to the characters. But besides that, it was a great movie, and I thought Han Solo was good, but did we really need it? Probably not.
I've watched maybe 30 minutes of it and then haven't revisited it. Not that I disliked it, I have no motivation to watch it really.
No, it's like the black sheep of the Star Wars franchise. It's like, you know, did they really need to do it? They could have chose so many different characters to have a story about, but they chose a safe one to do, unfortunately.
Okay. Any honourable mentions? Ones that didn't make it, but you really like?
Back to the Future. I guess the got to put in the comedy. Meet the Parents.
Yeah, that's good choice.
Yeah. I guess a sporting kind of franchise would be kind of the Mighty Ducks is okay.
Yeah.
There's so many good franchises though. Even the Mummies with Brendan Fraser were good.
Yeah, good movies. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That's my top 5. Guess your turn now, Luke.
Okay, I try to go with something a bit different. I try to pick movies that not necessarily not necessarily because they were the best, but they were my favourites. So I try to be real personal and pick things, even if they're not great movies, but I liked them or they meant something to me. And you went with a lot of sci-fi and action. I kind of scattered mine around. So at number 5, I picked Monsters, Inc. I don't know, maybe it's because the new TV shows came out, but as a kid, I liked Monsters, Inc. And then when Monsters University came out, I think that's really, really clever. I love that they can make an animation prequel, and it was just really cool. I just think I think that Disney and Pixar have a lot of subtle, funny things in it that adults and kids can both get something different out of. So I really like that, and I'm enjoying the series. So that's making me think it's a really strong franchise that it was able to expand into a TV show and still have some success.
And how does the show tie into the movies that makes it relevant?
So the show follows on. So the first movie is kind of the main thing, and then Monsters University is showing how they got to there. A prequel, and then the show follows directly after the movie, like the next day after the movie.
Okay.
So it's quite clever. So it is kind of a sequel but turned into a show, and it features all the original characters, and it just follows what happens after that. So that's my number 5. At number 4, I picked Scream.
Okay.
So
Haven't seen.
I think there's like 6 or maybe a 7th one coming out soon. So Scream's
What's the concept of that?
it's a slasher horror movie where the main character or the main
Has a mask?
yeah, they call him Ghostface. So it's the person, but they're never the same person. So it's not the same villain. So in the first one, there's someone. Basically, they're in this town, and this person's like committing murders to try and become famous, basically. And then the next one's basically people keep copying. Like they go, oh, well, this happened, so I'm going to do it. So they're never the same people. They're not often related, but there is the same characters. Like there's this one person that's always getting chased. They're trying to kill. That it follows on. It's quite clever. It's a good slasher movie. The twists are usually quite good. The last one that came out was really clever, and it surrounded the idea of like the digital age and recording and putting the murders online and trying to get famous from it. So it's a good series. I really highly recommend it, and I think a lot of horror movies are stupid. I don't think this is. Like, you know, in horror movies, sometimes the bad guy can get blown up, shot, and they always seem to survive. In this, it's never the same person. It's just people recreating the past murderer. Plus, there's a TV show on Netflix, Scream, so it also expanded from a movie into a show. The show is a bit silly, but it's okay. So that's number 4. Number 5, I'm going to chuck in Harry Potter.
Is that number 3?
Number 3, sorry. Number 3, I put in Harry Potter. Again, it's such an iconic franchise. It's hard to dislike. It's expanded into spin-off movies, and maybe one day we'll get a TV show.
Most likely, yeah.
The games were awesome. I loved playing those as a kid. One of my like favorite memories was getting the Harry Potter 1 on PlayStation 1 for Christmas, and I played it all Christmas Day, and it was such a good game. Just love Harry Potter. Like
Do you have a favourite one out of...
Oh, it's so hard to pick a favourite Harry Potter, but probably like the early ones, like 1 or 2. Just because it was, as a kid, it was so amazing to see all this stuff. So Harry Potter. So number 2, I put in James Bond, but only I'm narrowing it down to just the Daniel Craig James Bonds. Okay. So before that, Pierce Brosnan, I saw a bit of those, but then the James Bonds before him or before my time. But I really love the Daniel Craig version they've set up. So, and I'm looking forward to the new movie coming out, and going to be sad to see him finishing his role as James Bond. And I hope that when they recast him, they don't get another James Bond. I hope it's a spin-off instead. That if they do get Idris Elba, that he doesn't become James Bond, he becomes someone else, his own character, but it's in the James Bond world. That would be cool. And then number 1, I put in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we recently just did a video ranking these, and I said in there that that's my favourite movie franchise. So I love the Dark Knight trilogy. I love Christian Bale as Batman. I think all those movies were just perfect, and rewatched them time and time over, and that is Batman for me. That the Tumbler is the iconic Batmobile in my perspective, and the version that Christian Bale has, that's who I see Batman as. Or my next option for the closest thing to I simulate with Batman would maybe be the games. But yeah, the other Batmans, don't dislike them. They're just not what I imagine Batman to be.
Any honourable mentions?
Yeah, I'd like to add Home Alone. That was in my top 5, but I had to cut it because they are silly. Once Macaulay Culkin leaves, the following movies are really dumb. Yeah. And they're super unrealistic, but I reckon they're the movies I've watched the most in my lifetime. Every Christmas, without a doubt, I watch Home Alone 1 and 2, and I don't think I've watched any movies more than them, and that's my childhood. I love that. Like, going to New York was one of my favourite things just because I wanted to go look at the spots where Macaulay Culkin went for Home Alone. Yeah, so that's I really, really like that. Other franchises that just missed out for me, Oh, I had them written down. That there was another silly comedy. Toy Story would be close. I think Toy Story just missed out only because I'm not obsessed with Toy Story like some people are. But it's a long-standing franchise. And then Mighty Ducks. I absolutely love the Mighty Ducks. But after rewatching the movies recently, they're so dumb. They're like so dumb. They were good as a kid, but they're so stupid now. But the show's great. So
yeah, the show's better.
Yeah, so Mighty Ducks just misses out because I loved it as a kid. Don't really love it now, but I do like the movies and maybe like High School Musical. Like that's a close one to miss out. The movies were, I don't know, I would still watch them now, but I'd feel weird chucking that in. But High School Musical plus the spin-off show, that's a close miss as well.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke.
No worries.
Hope you enjoyed our ranking of the movie franchises. I guess we can do a lot of rankings with things. I guess we can do a ranking of like actors as well. You were saying, Luke?
Yeah, I was saying it would be cool if we pick an actor. So if people want to suggest an actor, put it in the comments, and we'll rank maybe our top 5 movies by that actor and maybe the worst. So the first one I'd like to do is maybe Adam Sandler. I think about this all the time, like what would be my top 5 Adam Sandler movies, and it's hard. It's a hard list to try and narrow it down.
Happy Gilmore has to be like 2 or 1.
I love Happy Gilmore and I love golf, but I don't know. It's so hard. I don't know how to pick the order. I could definitely pick a top 10 with no specific order, but to place it in order, so difficult. Yeah, so that's an idea we're thinking about doing. So if you got any actors you want us to do or actresses, leave a comment.
Well, let the force be with you. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.
You guys give up or you're thirsty for more?